Does God speak to you in dreams? My friend Su Ying, who was one of the clergy that was here last Saturday, has the most vivid dreams. It's like she's walking in the Garden of Eden and just talking to God. And when she tells me about these dreams, I'm like, wow. She's like all the Josephs in the Bible. She's getting this wisdom and guidance as she sleeps, and it's not there. I don't get that. The only thing my dreams tell me is when I'm stressed out. Last weekend before our big celebration of new ministry service, I dreamed I was running late and I couldn't get here. I almost drove off the pier in Santa Cruz, pressing a non-responsive brake pedal. And when the car came to a teetering stop at the edge, I was going to have to walk from there to here. I woke up and realized I was in my bed, and it was 5 a.m, and there was plenty of time to get to church. And I also realized I was more stressed out about the celebration of new ministry than I had realized. Juliet says you all knew because of how I freaked out about the singing the week before. Science has shown that dreams are a biological function of our brains processing the day's emotions. Folks in my spiritual direction community believe dreams are one way that the divine communicates with us. I am 100% convinced it's both. The divine speaks to us through our biology, just like we get a gut feeling. Just like we, along with all mammals, evolved emotions. This is the wonderful thing about being Episcopalian under that Anglican umbrella. We are a church of the both and. Reaching back to the time of the Protestant Reformation, when our founding theologians carved out a path between the Catholic and the Protestant forms of Christianity. They called this path the Via Media, the middle way. We can accept and learn from scientific truths, trusting our mysterious God is present, even if the earth is not the center of the universe and wasn't made in exactly 6 days. The Via Media has made us a wonderful church that upholds traditions and embraces rituals, but also adapts to the new things God is doing in the world, recognizing the justice of equality for all genders and fully including all queer identities. I suspect that aspects of this middle way are what have brought or kept most of us here. The Via Media isn't just a way of thinking. It's also a way of acting wisely and justly, moving forward with trust in God on an expansive path, rather than getting sidetracked into binary thinking. Just as dreams help our brains process irreconcilable daily stress and dilemmas, God's third way helps us process irreconcilable life choices. And that third way is what the gospel lesson on today, the fourth Sunday of Advent, calls us to. Joseph certainly feels stuck between two impossible options when he learns his betrothed Mary is pregnant and he isn't the father. It must have been an agonizing decision. He could have simply ignored the problem, pretended like, nothing strange was going on. But his trust in Mary was surely shaken. And according to the law, he had the right to cast her off publicly. But he was righteous, and he didn't want to expose her to public disgrace, the gospel says. Of two choices, he intends to honorably and quietly end the engagement until the angel of the Lord appears to him in a dream and reveals God's third way, a better way. Joseph can trust in God and adopt this child as his own, because Mary has not been unfaithful. I loved teaching this story to middle schoolers because it's about a man who defies patriarchal social norms. to love and protect a woman others would have rejected. This third way is only possible because Joseph trusts God, and so is able to trust Mary. The binary way he has been taught to think dissolves. The rock and the hard place pinning him in, they melt away as he matures in his faithfulness, and the path forward to becoming a holy family opens up. Here we are at Holy Family, so of course we are Team Joseph. We see his acceptance of her as in line with our gospel values of love, acceptance, and compassion, and his refusal to be trapped by the purity-impurity binary. Joseph's following of the third way was an act of expansive love that created a new kind of family. But how does this story call us into deeper trust and into more expansive ways of thinking and moving forward? For us humans, it's very easy to fall into either or binary thinking. We can get into us and them binaries, especially in our current political environment. In our personal relationships, we can dig in our heels with I'm right, you're wrong. When we fall into these habits of thinking, it's almost impossible to see a different way. The win-win, the we are both right kind of solutions. But Jesus showed us there is always a third way, a kind of via media, a way of non-violent but active resistance. That third way became possible through his example of self-giving love that broke open all the categories and the expectations of how God and anyone with power should or would act. From the moment the angel appeared to Joseph, he trusted in that self-giving love. And the creative third way opened up for him and for Mary to go forward. To find that creative way between the binaries that opens up a more expansive path, we have to trust God like Joseph. When we trust God, we implicitly believe that our actions matter, and giving up is not a faithful response. We may feel stuck. We may feel lost and confused. We may feel the way between the constraining binaries is such a tight squeeze that we can barely make it. But if we trust God and keep moving forward, striving to act with righteousness like Joseph did, then the way always unfolds. Have you ever had that kind of disagreement with a person that seemed utterly irreconcilable, and then you slept on it? And your brain, and maybe God, did that amazing processing and cleanup work that it does when we sleep. And then suddenly you wake up, and the third way, the thing that made it impossible for the third way is clear. The thing that suddenly makes it possible for both your needs to be met, both your perspectives to be valued. You saw it right there clearly when you woke up. Trusting God means believing that that third way is always there, even when it's hard to see. And acting with openness and without aggression, in partnership with others, to try to find it. Last Saturday, the bishop gave us a definition of Christian maturity that speaks beautifully to this via media. The bishop praised us for how we already do a wonderful job of witness through our outreach in the community. And he reminded us that how we treat one another here within this community is also part of maturing in faith. He said, being a mature Christian means telling the truth to one another when you hurt each other, extending grace and forgiveness when our human failings inhibit our common mission. And above all, it means balancing the hard work of ministry that requires us to be strong and courageous with the Sabbath practices that remind us that this is God's work we share, not ours alone. There's something about that phrase, Sabbath practices. Sabbath is when we rest. It's when we can dream. And it's when the third way opens up. This is the third way that he's describing. It's not our job to save the world, and it's not God's alone either. It's both of ours together. We do it through creative, open-hearted faithfulness and witness to Jesus' example. We do it in our public advocacy for justice and mercy, and also in our private acts of partnership with one another to be a loving Christian community, a holy family of trust that seeks ways forward that honor everyone's ideas and feels like a win for all of us. As we journey with Mary and Joseph through these final days of Advent, may we do so with faithfulness and trust in one another and in our all-loving God who came to be with us in the flesh in a little baby.